And entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Any comments? Without objection, it is adopted. We will go straight to the very first item on the agenda, which is our variance, which brings our several other guests here, B14-160. And Laura, it is yours.
So if the applicants can talk about the case, since some of us have been there, but others have not, and explain your project. And I know we have a neighbor here as well. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name.
Tandy Chase.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I've got our architect here as well, so he actually probably can describe it better than I can. But basically, we are looking to encroach into the east side setback of the house. The lot width is 50 feet as opposed to the standard R4 70 feet. So we're seeking a variance just so we can actually fit a stairway, a legal 36-inch stairway on the side of the kitchen to be able to access the lower levels of the house. The lot from the street level down to the bottom of the lot actually drops 38 feet. So we actually need a good stairway to get up and down the house. Essentially, we have all kinds of pictures and plans.
Why don't we get those going, because it'll make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
when we see
Yeah,
it.
I apologize, I went to the city to have those re-stamped, remember?
Yes, once you introduce
And they took,
yourself, please.
sorry, Chris Holland, I'm the architect. Let me just go
I have a couple of extra copies of the.
well,
Ms. Chase, do
they-
you have one? Ms. Chase, do you have one as well in front of you? Could you give her one? Yeah.
So unfortunately, the city took half of my drawings, they wanted, so I had to run and make more copies than they still on.
I have several more.
I have enough, I just have to kind of put them together here.
It's a general very long. Size is actually over the number. The total size is over.
I can email it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Usually, having best lot coverage, calculation.
Okay, sir, if you will, explain what you're up to.
Sure, I just want to make sure everybody has enough copies. Who else would you?
David's got it.
Okay. So, on the east side of our house, there's a, Brian, will look at this is the site plan. Remember that? You're on. It's right here. We are looking to, and then we'll show you the floor plan in a second, but this is just from the top view of the floor plate of the house. They're looking to encroach in the setback for this period right here for the stairwell. It's about a 3-foot wide stairwell. And there's an existing nonconformity already on the house, a bay window, and we're just going to be essentially continuing that line.
What is the existing non-conformity?
The shape of it, the size.
No, sir, how far from the side yard is it now?
It encroaches, do you know exactly how far that bay window encroaches into the setback?
3 feet into the setback.
So of the 7-foot setback, it encroaches just over 3 feet.
Well, it's at 3 feet.
We're going about
3 feet,
Yeah.
right? Not just over 3 feet, 3
Is it
feet.
just over, or is
But
it?
it says 4.7 to the corner of the bay window, but the bay window then projects, so I'm thinking between 4 and 4.7 feet. Do you see what I'm saying? Because the bay window does that. So if you go to the furthest point of the bay window, it is 3 feet into the setback, so 4 feet from the property line. And if you go to the corner, it would be 4.7. Still need one of these? Sure.
And then, so beside that, beyond that, in the package, there's actually a floor plan.
I'm curious, sir, just if you will, share with me. It's right now, it's 3 feet
Yes,
from the side yard setback.
correct.
And you're asking for setback to reduce it to 3.2?
For this one section there, correct.
Right, but it's already 3.
Well, I mean, we don't have a,
You got it, so down here, the addition becomes 3.
Correct.
Got it, thank you.
Currently, the
right, so
four-
even though part of the, my understanding is even though part of the existing building is in the setback, they never got a variance for it, or they never adjusted the setback. The setback is still set at 7 feet.
Right.
So even though part of the building is,
That's right.
yeah, projecting into, we now want to just make it legal to continue that line.
Well, and you're extending the nonconformity a little bit from the 2, basically to 3 feet. And I know that the lot is not exactly straight, so.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
At its closest point, that bay window is right now, how far from the property line?
4 feet, 4 feet.
From the property.
At its closest point, and you want to go to 3, is it?
Okay, I'm confused now. I thought you just said it was 4.7 on the broad part.
Yeah, so basically right there, you see, correct, right at that point is 4.7.
Right, so the closest point, which is not, it is not 4.7, it is currently
It's probably 4 feet.
4 feet. But not 3, 3, or 4. The bay window, this dimension on the bay window is 7 inches, is what you're saying.
Approximately.
More or less, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, you can see this is the one right there.
And so your new addition will be 3.2 feet, whereas this is
Yeah, so this projects maybe like another 8 inches beyond where the bay window currently projects.
And then if you all would also just let the audience
Hold on, we're
know.
gonna have one conversation here, sir, just because I want everybody to hear everything, please, if you will.
I know you mentioned it before, but your reason for extending out into here, I mean, I was there, so I know from the site visit, but let everyone else know.
And basically, we need to get a stairway down to the lower level, and because of this, there's a corner in the building that's an existing bathroom. It constricts at that point, so if we were to have the stairwell there, we wouldn't be able to have a kitchen anymore. So it basically allows us to have both the kitchen and the stairwell on this site, so people can go down the deck. There's really no other way for anybody to conveniently get to what is actually a pretty nice backyard. They would be completely cut off if they didn't have that stair. And there's actually an existing stair that we took down that is pretty much in the position where this one is going to be.
There was a deck stair.
Yeah, deck stair, it was an exterior stair.
And on a slightly different topic, when we were there, we discussed that you've had an engineer come out, so you're doing a renovation, not new build. So what you're trying to do is work within the confines of your existing structure that had this kitchen.
Right.
Right. We like the character of the house. We like it's kind of from the street, very low impact look. We're actually there's a brick impervious covering in the front yard. We're gonna, at the end of construction, make that grass to be better for the trees and whatnot. But really kind of adding to the back of the house, but really not not making a huge house. It's more trying to make more of a livable space instead of kind of chopped up small rooms.
And these stairs that you're adding here go down to that lower level
Yeah.
of the house.
And there'll be a deck. Right now, right now it's demolished, but there was a little sort of like abandoned pond and just pretty much rubble, pretty nasty. So that's going to have a really nice deck on it, and obviously if you enjoy that, you want to be able to get down there. There's one building a deck and you can't get to it, so it is, that you'll be able to just walk down the stairs and exit there. And, I designed the side elevation of the wall in the last view here, so that it's really kind of not very monolithic. It's cut up into smaller pieces, so it's a little more gentle to the eye, and and certainly to the neighbors. So here, I think it's really nice.
And
This page.
the stairs that you mentioned that you're taking out, those are the ones that currently go down to the lower level that are sort of in the middle of the house.
Right, so he was talking about the ones that existed on the outside of the building previously.
Okay.
There was an attached deck that is essentially where this addition is going, but it was an outdoor deck off of the old kitchen. And it had stairs that went down to it. So effectively, we're replacing that. That deck was falling apart, had damage, termite damage, et cetera. It was not something we felt safe keeping around. And when we evaluated this, we determined that it would be better to, rather than put a new set of deck stairs there, actually incorporate them into the house. So they would actually, A, look better, but be more usable for us.
Yeah, but I think what you were getting at, there was
So
an
there's the second
internal,
part.
there's an internal stair inside, which is gonna be abandoned because we needed to get a stair upstairs to the second floor. In order to do that, with creating a new landing and all that, so that basically makes that stair really not usable.
Okay, anything else you want to tell us about this? We're going to hear from you again anyway, but anything else at this point you want to say? Anything else?
Is there any more news on the trees in the front? And
I've contacted the arborist. We're just trying to schedule a time for him to come. The trees in the, that's the side tree on the west side of the house, just for them to come see that. The trees in the front are, as you all requested, super protected, have a building fence around them. And then at the end of the project, it's our intention to, and we've listed it on the drawings that we had stamped with the city, that we're going to take the brick off and put a earth structure. I don't know if it's grass or, et cetera. We haven't brought the landscape architect or figure that out.
Okay, so the next door neighbor to the side with the renovation on this one, Chase, here in this case has got a letter that I think the husband composed, but yes ma'am, would you like to tell us what pass your letters out if you haven't already? And the floor is yours.
And this is really sort of above my level of expertise here, but I'll let you take a look at the letter. I'm really just here to ask if we just wanted to basically say that we do have some concerns about the further encroachment, and we would like for it to be up for further discussion. My husband couldn't be here today, he's working, he's traveling, so he asked me if I would come and joking with somebody feels a little bit like group therapy right now in this circle, but I do my best. I'm a psychotherapist, so this is totally above my, this is like reading Japanese, but, you know, I think, you know, when my husband pointed it out to me, we were out on the terrace over the weekend, and just pointing out how when the addition, there is the bay window that's there now, that was there before we got there, but I mean, it's very close to the house, and from what I'm understanding, I guess the new construction is going to come out a little bit further, making it so that it extends a little bit.
It's gonna be about this much beyond where the bay window is. Yeah.
This month should be one.
And I know from reading this, you know, and I know when Chris and I talked, you know, you talked about it being sort of a minimal impact to us, but it doesn't feel minimal to us, and you know, it does, you know, I mean, we enjoy certain aspects of, you know, that piece of space there, and yet at the same time, we understand, we know that you want to build, and we want you to build. I know at some point we might be here and wanting to do renovations, and like, you know, my husband said we have no problems with it going up, but it was just like, when we found out it was going to be coming a little bit further out, it did feel like it just felt closer. And we know in Virginia-Highlands, you know, the houses are parked pretty close to one another.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the, you know, that's just part of the Virginia-Highlands, so I guess, but it just felt like, you know, whereas now we can sit there and almost, you know, like I said, put our arm out to the bay window, but now it's going to be a little bit further out past where the bay window is, and it does feel like an encroachment.
You specifically mentioned about a different feeling being on your deck in the rear. Do you want to comment on that? I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's, definitely it's gonna block out some of the sunlight. I mean, I understand there is a deck, well, there was a deck there now, it's since taken down, but it had a netting, it had a, so it didn't feel quite, but now we're talking about having an actual, a building, a piece of rock, a piece of, that's gonna be basically where the old camp was. And, the way that it was before did kind of give us a feeling of, it almost blended in, it didn't feel too much, it almost felt like we were still outside having, I don't know if you can imagine, but it was a deck that was sort of encased with it, it had a netting that the previous owner had. And when we were out there, or when they were out there, it felt a bit like we were all out there on our decks together, even though it was a little close for comfort. And now it just feels like we're gonna have this wall that is essentially gonna be on our, that feels like it's gonna be on our deck, so to speak, metaphorically. So I guess we're just asking, if you can sort of appreciate, and Chris has been very, I've appreciated his coming by and came by this afternoon to discuss. We haven't been missing each other. He's been out of town, my husband's been out of town. We said, why don't we get together, let's try to talk about this over the week on Saturday.
Hi, I didn't see you then, just got it.
Okay. And so, again, I'm more than happy to. We're not trying to be difficult.
You don't need
We
to
want everybody to be
apologize.
happy here. We've been here for 14 years, and we have been because it's been a wonderful neighborhood, like I told them, and I hope that you're just as happy.
What additional property distresses you an idea what your husband is just mostly just kind of getting?
He is much more detailed and thoughtful, and I wish he was here to speak about it, but
I just wondered if there was a specific piece in mind, because I'm unable to identify any additional property distresses.
I'm not. I know if he was here, like I said, he's very detailed and I'm a person, and I know he wanted to be here.
So I do want to just point out one piece, just for understanding purposes. This letter reads, my basic understanding of our planning requires a yard to have a width of no less than 7 feet property from the property line, and it does not require that. That is the standard setback. If it required that, we would all be taking chainsaws to our houses and setting them back 7 feet from the property line. Very few houses are, and that's not the end of the discussion. I just want to make that understanding of what the code says. The code, these were codes were adopted decades after houses were built, imposed on a variety of neighborhoods around, and what they really refer to in this case is they do not refer to existing construction. That does not mean that you can automatically do anything, given that none of our houses, as I pointed out, that doesn't mean that, but it does not require a 7-foot property setback from the property line.
But aren't you supposed to have one when you build something new?
No,
You're supposed to have a 7-foot setback.
no, what the code says is that if you, the code begins with the assumption that new construction, in order to maintain anything that doesn't have that, you're going to have to go and get a variance if you want it. But the approach to brand new construction, as opposed to tear downs, as opposed to adding on to renovations, is in fact radically different at the Bureau of Zoning Adjustment. The Bureau of Zoning Adjustment has historically treated extensions of existing nonconformities in a different way. They're not automatically approved, but they have been much kinder and gentler and much more approving over years of extensions of existing nonconformities than they have to completely brand new construction. And so if the folks were to tear the house down, even with this very narrow lot, we would have, they could still, I think, probably get on this narrow lot some form of relief, but I doubt that it would. But it might not be to 3 feet on every side as it probably is. I don't know what it is on the other side. I haven't been to look, but many of our houses have a very narrow side. It's pretty common in this neighborhood. You'll be glad to know, or not glad to know, that the pending redesign of the building, the zoning code contemplates trying to relieve and clarify some of these challenges, because, we hope that there will be far more codes, far more detailed codes for various spots. It will not all start off automatically with non-conforming houses, as we all do now, because it does create a bit of a presumption in the part of the VCA that you're not conforming to begin with, so may as well keep going with that. So that said, what did you see? What did y'all see on the site visit when you were there in terms of impacts on the adjacent neighbor visually? And he also raises stormwater issues. Is there stormwater likely to arrive? That's a serious concern that we pay attention to. But the house falls to the backyard, and we were assured in the planning committee meeting that the stormwater would continue to drain to the backyard. Is that what you observed?
Right, and the yard is, as you can see from the site plan, very deep. So their lot coverage is minimal, and that they're not, none of their water should spill over onto the other property, which is something that is not allowed. We did see the deck, the neighbor's deck on the east side, which it runs along in a narrow way along this side of y'all's house, and then I think as it goes, it wraps around more in the back. So on the side over here, it's narrower.
On the west side
On
of
the,
Chase's house?
Yeah, the west side of their house.
Well, when facing it, the east.
If you were standing on their, where their deck used to be looking at your deck, that side is kind of more of a runway, kind of part of the deck, and then it wraps around the back of your house a little bit. So it didn't, to me, it didn't look like that was a place that you may walk out there, but it wasn't like you had tables and chairs right there. You would have them more towards the back.
Right. Towards the back and sort of facing our house on the west side there in the corner.
So, when we were there, since we saw that it's, basically it's extending the nonconformity, but not along the entire side, and the understanding of what the needs were for the kitchen, and knowing that the neighbors had been contacted and we hadn't heard from anyone, we felt like the folks that were there felt like it was reasonable, and with the planning committee, we recommended approval. That being said, now that you all have come forward, I feel like there's always a time to have some discussion and talk about what your limitations are in the kitchen, and is there any compromise that can be made as far as, possibly taking it just to where the nonconformity goes to at this point, which is the furthest point of the bay window, and going back from there, if that might be reasonable for, the neighbors and how you feel. But that, as we had mentioned, we usually work to have these discussions well before this meeting, which is why the letters go out early and all of those kind of things. And I know it's difficult, because what we don't want to do is have, a labor discussion at a board meeting on this. So I don't know if, from the architect's point of view, do you feel like there is some compromise you can make here on that east side?
I think we could possibly, just going a little bit, I'd have to really speak with the interior designer, is it 6 inches or 8 inches or 12 inches, I don't know. I'm not sure we could bring it in a little bit to make you happy, if that would make a difference. But I need to kind of check with CD, because he sort of laid out the furniture.
We could, so, I would make 2 comments on those. Anything's possible, it's just, less ideal, right? So we didn't try and take it all the way out to the 3 feet that BZA would, potentially even allow. We just tried to set it where it should fall. So if we brought it back in, the 4 or so inches, that would bring it, in line with the.
I think it's 8 inches, right?
It depends on where you start, right? Because it's
the difference.
The house is on an angle, so we have to look at it. And we have all the data to do that here. And we could bring it into that line if that would be something that the board would want us to do. I would argue that it has an almost imperceptible impact at that point. But that's just
On the outside.
Well, is there, Ms. Chase, is there anything that,
I guess what I would be wondering is just what, are there any options? I didn't know if this was, you saying that this is the final, and we're exploring any other options to this, or can we explore?
I mean, the options are to respect the setback or go to where we're going right now, or somewhere in between. And there's an infinite number in between there. If we moved it back to the existing non-conformity, that, you know, in theory, at some point, the land was probably just going to say, go ahead. Because you're in line with how the house already runs. So that 6 or 8 inches or whatever it is, we have all the categories here. I would just put out there that if we were both standing on your deck and said, is that 3 feet away or 3'6", we would have a really hard time knowing the difference.
That's where I was trying to go with my question to you, Ms. Chase, is from I think it's undeniable that if you start with one set of realities that you have now, that this is a change. It's unquestionable. And it's very difficult to project in 5 years whether you'll remember or know the change or feel horrible about it or not even notice it. So somewhere in there's the answer would be. My question is there anything they can do on the outside of the building, or in terms of there's still several feet, there's a yard or so? I mean, is there in some forms of a fence or vegetation, or a fence with vegetation, or anything that they could do that would mitigate the impacts on y'all? And we could ask, they could be asked to consider that, which is something that folks do a lot when you get into this. And they're good neighbors and they're trying to figure out how to do this, and y'all are good neighbors and trying to figure out how they can do it. So is there something that would help y'all not feel visually, and everybody could think about this? And then, when is the schedule for the museum?
October 2nd.
I would like to say that I think anything is possible, you know, and what I don't want to do is to come here and make some decisions without Ted being here and just saying, okay, I'm good to go, let's just, you know, I think what I'm here to do is just to sort of say, can we still talk about this, we just caught up, just back again, we keep missing each other, so we really haven't, in all fairness, I think, had a chance to really sit down and talk about what might be the options, but I guess that's what I'm asking. I don't know what Ted would say if he were here, but, and I'm pretty sure, I'm married to him, he's pretty reasonable. But, you know, and maybe take your suggestion and sit down on Saturday.
Absolutely.
You know.
I think the challenge here is that this group only gets together on a certain schedule, so it kicks out a month. Or something like that.
Well, I'm just wondering what the procedure would be. Is there a way for you to say, you know, we let you go to the next stage because we'll approve it from, you know, a conditional that we explore together, that there might be sort of a compromise position of the stair, and that gives us time to meet with
Or
you.
vegetation.
You know, vegetation or something, you know, that we, a combination of those things, and that we show up together at the next meeting, you know, hopefully in unison, agreed on something that we're all happy with.
Well, that has historically been a path that's fraught with peril, and I'll tell you all the only reason is that when there's no time left, the mood de facto often changes just because it has to. I mean, so I would say there's broadly the possibilities are, if you, here's the facts as I see them, I missed the site visit, and I wish I hadn't, but there you go, we had 3 capable people there. We're at the very last second of this, the folks were notified on time, so one way to do this would be to say we're not going to change it. The procedures worked as it should have, and there was ample opportunity to talk about this, and it's the last second, very difficult to change. We could do that. We could ask if you were willing to defer it a month, but it'll cost you 1 full month out of your building schedule if it gets deferred a month. We could try to postpone this, I think, reasonably, if it is the board's wish and consent, a few days and deal with this by email vote. It's not what we like to do, but that's we've had the special meeting tonight, almost particularly purely for this, but that's okay. A good solution is more important than that. So if we could probably defer this a few days, and you'd be both leaving it up to us.
Is there a 4th option
Okay.
that we could make a recommendation to approve based on knowing that we would receive a site plan that is basically have, that the neighbor is in favor of and that you have agreed.
So then what happens if the neighbor doesn't agree, is not in favor of it? And I don't think that's, personally, I don't think that's the way to approach it. I would rather that we incentivize both parties to go forward and make a good plan together, knowing that if we do that, everybody can possibly get a bite of this apple, and you can move this sucker forward and not leave it in.
Can I ask, isn't it true that if you were going to approve, because you said we went through the process, everything was done correctly, you're inclined to approve it?
I didn't say that.
Well, whatever, let's
So
say
that means-
assuming.
I didn't say that, sir.
Wait. That we could still have an agreement with them later to, make it a little less.
That's right, you
what
could.
we decided.
You could have a completely satisfactory, or you could have a completely unsatisfactory agreement with them later, or no agreement whatsoever. So I'm just trying to be realistic
Sure.
here, that if we, I think the reason we love our process is that it incentivizes everybody to step up in a timely way when they still got a shot at this.
Right.
And quite frankly, you're late. You really are late to the party here. But that said, you're very pleasant people, you're all getting along well. The question, and we're either going to make a decision without your husband or not. He's not here, I'm sorry for that, but hey, them's the breaks. This is when the meetings are. I think it's up to this board as to what to do. We can agree to defer it in the hopes that y'all will come up with a cool plan that you both think is fine in the next few days. And failing that, we will make a decision one way or the other without that plan. We will hope that it will come forward, knowing that if y'all can all agree, that'll cinch it. That would cinch it. You'd both know, that's the art of compromise, you'd both know what you were getting, and everybody would be good to go, and if y'all are all happy, we'll be happy. But if you don't, and there's no mandating that they do, then we're gonna decide it one way or the other before next. They have a right to go forward on their schedule because they have met the deadline, so they have a right to go with or without, again, a negative recommendation unless they're a positive one, but they do have a right to go forward, and so that's my suggestion to the board. What is the board's pleasure?
I'd be willing to have a scheduled email vote, say, a week from Wednesday.
No, it's gotta be this week because it goes to the end of Monday, and it needs to be by the end of this week. I mean, we are talking 2
So
weeks,
Saturday is not possible.
not Friday. I wanna do it this week and be done. I mean, we're gonna either work hard, or we're gonna take a crack at this. The time is now. So
But
we'll-
basically, we should have an agreed upon plan maybe by Wednesday and the board votes on Thursday.
Thursday, Friday.
Excuse me, can I just ask, when is your husband coming back?
Thursday.
But is he reachable by email?
Yeah.
So we could, I could tomorrow draw something up that maybe we can send to him.
Start
Says, okay, we pulled it in 8 inches or whatever.
We'll pull it in a few and put up some lattice with agreed upon plant material so that they have I'm not trying to, I'm just throwing out notions. I don't care, you can dislike them all intensely, it's okay with me. I don't take it personally. But these are things that people have done, is
Right.
vegetated screens or other privacy screens that we try, because these are common problems. We're on top of each other in this neighborhood, especially on the sides.
Question, can you refresh my memory, at ground level, what is at the property line? Is there a fence
The
there?
fence is,
A 6-foot fence?
it's currently probably about 5 feet. If I just remember, I was there earlier and I
The
could
chain
see over it.
fence.
And so the lattice would be going,
Vertical from there. And
Okay.
it progressively gets steeper and drop off, so
Right.
it'd be a pretty,
Remembering the restrictions on fences so you don't have to, it's got to
I have no
be
idea what
50% open. If it's over, we'll familiarize you with them. You need, the vegetated wall is the cool way to do it because you have the open space required and you grow vegetation, which is allowed. And that can be thick and luxuriant, and you can each grow from each side, so you don't have to depend on the other. You always think more space,
Right.
and you can each grow your thing on each side of you, and you can keep this up. And so both of you would have to be okay with that, although I think either party can actually do it without either of the other parties.
It can be lattice or some sort of post.
The lattice,
with
which is
wire
50%
between.
open above, there's, you can go above.
and at that point, if you do the fence, then you would never know. We could raise 6 inches from the wall. I mean, from the neighbors.
So what is the board's pleasure?
I would move that we defer the board decision until Thursday, and that we request that the architect gives us plans that they have negotiated with the neighbor by Wednesday,
Well, he's not back till Thursday. Why don't we
but
make
I
it?
Right,
still
we
think
can
he
do
needs
by
to do
email.
it by email.
Okay. Is that probably doable, Ms. Smith? So we can do that?
Yeah.
And
So
then it
we
gives us a
will,
little-
Thursday at 6 PM, we either need something, is that okay, Thursday at 6 PM?
That we vote, but we
No,
receive
we
the
need,
stuff.
we need, y'all have reached an agreement on this solution, or you have not. And if you have not, we will do one thing or the other.
On Wednesday, so Lola has a deadline.
I was saying that we get the agreed upon plans from them by Wednesday, so that we can pass them out to the board, so the board can vote, get their votes into us on
Wednesday at
Thursday.
midnight, something like that. Wednesday night, we send them out.
Wednesday
So-
end of day.
So it's scanned, I can just email you all, okay, so.
We also need but we need a note from each of you, Ms. Chase, from you as well, the planning at baja.org, that you have seen the plans and agree, and a note from you all that you've seen the plans.
Copy each other.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
cool.
all you're doing, is sending it to planning. at
And you've
Baja.
agreed upon this plan, and we do send it to us so we can make sure that you're not creating, just act in your haste, which I know you normally would not do, but if you get a hurry, another variance request in the middle of
No,
this,
actually,
let's keep
Can I
it.
just,
Sure.
I'm actually inclined not to do a fence, I think the fence would have to be fairly tall.
Yeah.
I think the
A little bit
solution,
around here,
Yeah.
or nightmare?
I think the solution would be to take, if you look at the exterior elevation of that, it may be hard for you to picture, but we could do a green wall or something where you have, you know,
On the wall.
on the wall,
Mhm.
which makes it nice and sort of like lush and so pretty to look at, soften it,
Mhm. There's plenty of room to do that.
right. I think that would be prettier and easier to maintain, and you wouldn't have to worry about any plants or anything like that. We all know,
All right, so it's been moved and seconded,
that would be really pretty.
that we adopt this as a further discussion by the board, this lawless procedure will be followed. Well, I need you, we will need 6 people to participate in this, so please do not be unavailable for this tour.
So we'll send them out to you on Thursday.
All in favor of Lola's proposal, please raise your hand. Well, with that, this part of the planning committee meeting is now, ad hoc planning committee meetings now, this is what we do. This is what we like to do in the planning committee meeting. Sorry, that's okay, we need to make it a little clearer. that-
Yeah, I didn't even know,
Yeah,
even tonight, I was like,
that's on us probably, so we can do better.
Mr. Chase, please come to the MP meeting next Monday.
Which is,
It's at Hillside Center, 1301.
that's on your website, right?
If you-
NPUA.
Neighborhood planning unit. If we've reached an agreement, all will be well if we do it, if we're supporting it and y'all are all, everybody's happy, it's gonna go very smoothly, that's where we want to get it. So we thank you and appreciate your additional.
thank you
effort
for
and
seeing us.
consideration.
Appreciate it. Now you have some sort of silver meeting.
No, it's all good, thanks so much. So, I mean, what did you think of the circles, did it work out?
Yeah, I was just saying, Chris, thanks for being a good group leader. I'll leave you room with me today.
Is this something you want to keep this in?
I think we're all friendlier.
Oh, you were giving a
Oh,
Yeah.
You notice Angelica's sitting outside this.
I'm like, I just don't know where I'm gonna go
Anything
yet.
about that, or should we make a room for her?
Bring her in.
We'll put up some drawings. And, you know, I don't have-
Warming up now.
Because that's gonna make it a lot faster. Because now you can always come over and both of us can.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. We'll be looking for you. Call us if there's problems or you no longer want to live near each other. And I hate to lose any of you, so we don't.
We're gonna bring a lot of wine to our meeting.
Can we come?
This is on a public property, we can't do that. So we'll see you guys very shortly.
And
Thanks. Angelica, you're up.
Okay.
TNT.
Okay, so,
Excuse me, if y'all, move on. Thanks very much for coming to Shakespeare. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's a high probability this will all work out. If not, we'll come look at your houses, maybe we'll buy them. We're-
it's been a while since I've been to a meeting, and I apologize for that, but my husband wishes he could come too, but we are tag team babysitting, okay? I just wanted to give the group a quick update on Tour of Homes, because that's our next big fundraiser, and we're in full swing right now. We just solidified all the houses that are gonna be on the tour, and I'll just give you some addresses quickly without the numbers, but most of the tour will be, like if you're going up Virginia, and you're hitting North Highland, it seems like most of the tour will be to the left of the north of the city, so the north side of our town. We have several, linear, Brook Ridge, we have a Virginia Circle, we have a Green Cove and 2 Clemonts, and then a Park Drive. So it's going to be a really nice flow for people who are walking. Last year, they were way scattered, and that was one of the complaints we did honestly receive. Not that it based everything, but plus we looked at, I think it was 57 houses this year, and came down with 7. So we're like, we'll take them.
Is God's house in?
Basically, we have, and we're also going to put the Church of Our Savior on. Anyway, for next year's lineup, we already have 10 houses. So it was like, we hit all these people, and they were like, we're not ready, we don't have furniture, we'll do it next year. So we've got a really good lineup for next year too. But we have 2 bungalows, some renovations, a totally greenhouse, Frank Lloyd Wright house, that's the linear boulevard home. A really cool house with a great pool, and then Park Drive was a big reno, so I'm really excited to see these myself. I've only been in 4. All of our local restaurants are participating. We had no issues getting a restaurant. In fact, we have too many. So that was very good because they saw, what had happened and how much business they received afterwards. As far as sponsorship goes, because we're trying to raise a lot of money, sitting right now, if we get the last part of our checks in, this week is our big push to get money in from our sponsors, we will be sitting at just shy of $33,000 before tickets.
Awesome.
So, and last year, I got goosebumps because last year when I did this meeting, we had 29,000. So, and last year we blew it out of the water, period. And it rained 2 days. So I'm really hoping for some good weather, and we're going to do the ticket sales again at the Y, and pre-sales at Ace Hardware again, and 10,000 Villages. And I was able to get Grady Jazz and Choir to do the caroling for a whole day, because everyone went nuts over that. It was my biggest email that I received, to see these kids perform. I'm still working on Inman. Nobody will call me back from over there. I don't get it, but I've been there in person too, so.
I was gonna say, you live right across the street, you'll get in their face.
So anyway, but I just want y'all to know we've got it together. We are looking for house captains, people that we can really trust and, rely on, even if it's for a day. So,
I think Laura did that 1 year.
it's really, it's a good job. And it's just, it would be for a very stable person that we would trust, because a lot of people come to the house. But Eleanor is going to be running the volunteer spot. And we'll have it on, next door. We'll also put it on The Voice for volunteering. But that's coming up, the first week of October. So if you can volunteer at all, that'd be wonderful for that weekend.
Well, all board members know that really
Yeah.
they will do.
And if
what
you
we will
know
all
of
do
anybody
something.
else, friends, anybody, because I think this is going to be a year, we've got a couple of biggies, and then the church, so we need a few more volunteers than normal.
What's the dates again?
The 6th and the 7th, first weekend. So we're coming straight off. This is what happened to us last year, is that we had Thanksgiving, and then boom, the next weekend was the tour. So we're advertising a whole nother 4 weeks prior this time. We only did it like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and I think we could have done a little bit better.
We have a PR group that does Summerfest that's helping with this
Mhm.
year's.
So this year, we actually got a lady that is going to be doing both fundraisers for us, which is,
What do you guys were talking about, a bike, potentially bike corral?
yes, we're looking at that. We just don't know where that would all be.
Logistically, we're thinking, but.
You need
Yeah,
separate
it would be
options
cool to have
because you have
ballet
go from
bike,
one
but-
Is there no space at the Y to do it in their parking lot?
Well,
It's
people are
perfect.
just gonna want to park their bike at each house, and
Yeah,
so we
that's the
just don't know
problem.
what
You
we're
need
doing
several
with
at
that.
least,
I think it would be so cool to do it, but
You've got Green Cove, that would work. That's doable.
we could do one right there for that little street.
Good luck with that.
So we're gonna look at that, and then the other thing I want to say real quick is that with all the Beltline activity is we're really going to hook on to these other events that are going on. The wine stroll, the art, also our Streets Alive that are coming up. So we want to be out there advertising, whether it's like, we still haven't firmed that up, whether we have just a small little chair and a desk that we were giving a free ticket out that day. We're working that angle also. So we really just want to get out there and spread the word. But we're on fire, and it's going to be another great tour.
So Angelica, the talk that you and Robin were having, they're doing a spring tour as well. Where is that?
It comes up every single time we meet in March, because everyone's like, okay, something that people love in our neighborhood are the gardens, their backyards, their front yards. I mean, people have some incredible backyards, and it could be like classy and wine and, you know, something different than just walking through the actual home is to hang out in their gardens. It's just, you know, we need some more people to help us. We really want to do it, but we would honestly need like 25 houses thrown in the pot right away that we could go talk to. Because you can't look at everybody's backyard, I mean. So we would have to make the call out to the neighborhood, and I think we have some prideful people that would want to do it. I really would like a third fundraiser. Could you imagine? I mean, even if we did like a $17,000 to $20,000 one in the spring, and then ours was 56, and then Summerfest. Because ours are probably paying out 50, 55,000. That's a lot of money.
So just for perspective, I'll throw this out. In the mid-2000s, the accounting was a little fuzzy on the tour, but we're pretty confident it broke even. And it is really transformed into a completely different.
It's actually a moneymaker.
It's a substantial moneymaker for this neighborhood. It really is important.
Our sponsorship, just to give you just a tiny taste of what we're dealing with sponsorship, is that every realtor has wanted to get into this ticket book. I mean, it's the hot spot. And even more so than the interior designers, the architects, and the builders. Bottom line, I mean, it's been the realtors wanting a piece of the pie, which I anticipated, because we're just, you know, selling and buying and selling and buying.
Well, you have really driven a great effort. Is this your third year? And the team is awesome.
Oh yeah, we have a good team.
And Robin on sponsorships, and Melinda, and the people that bring the restaurants in, they're doing a great job.
Yes. Excellent. And we started out this year with 5 new people. So we're just trying to groom, and they're young, like they're fun. They just moved here, so they're trying to get their feet in and get planted. So, yeah.
Let us meet them.
My husband keeps saying, so are you going to your non-pay job every night? I'm like, every job I do is non-pay, okay? But anyway, just expect the best for that weekend again. It's all taken care of.
And I think having the church in our city is a great.
Yeah, it'll be a good
It's a popular
spot.
place, and it's fun.
And it'll be another shelter if something crazy happens, you know, with rain or anything like that.
And they'd probably give us the bike if there's any reason there, they'd probably give their parking lot or their patio. You know, that's a cool idea. It's doable. It's a
I wish we
cool
could.
idea.
I think that would really just bring in the Beltline people too. But we
It's
just really
not
got to throw that
walkable
out there.
from one spot though, it's really, especially for runners and walkers. Well, thanks really much. This
Oh,
is
I
great.
love it. I mean,
Really-
I have to say I'm addicted to it. Once we get our houses, then I feel a lot better. It's
Well-
very hard work to get these people to say yes to 1,500 people walking through their house. But, you know, they do it to help the neighborhood ultimately. Yeah.
Well, it's nothing, it's all details, and every detail counts, so it really appreciate it. And you don't come here often. We hear from Lola a lot.
Okay, cool.
And Lola's listening to everything and keeping up with everything you'll do, so
Awesome.
it's hugely important to the board, and really appreciate you coming tonight. So, all right, let us know what we can do.
Okay.
We'll all be there that weekend.
Okay, good.
Cool. All right, thanks very
Now,
much.
do you need me to leave?
No, you're
Okay,
welcome.
okay.
No, I was just trying to give you a graceful opportunity. Most people run.
I have to give you one check though, Peggy. This is for one of our. And I'll go Wednesday. Okay.
Get to do the
Oh.
scan for you.
Sorry.
Almost forgot about me again.
Oh, no.
But I want you to come in, we have a new format here, so you have to come in and have a seat in the circle.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Inside of the
Really,
circle?
we want you to have a seat in the circle, seriously.
Well, I mean, I'll stand because I'm just more
All
comfortable
right,
standing.
all right.
Instead of sitting, but for the new person, I am Lieutenant Floyd. I'm with Zone 6, Evening Watch Command, and I'm here to report on crime. I'm happy to say that we're still maintaining 22% crime decrease for 601s beat. Of course, still having some issues with the vehicle break-ins. I mean, when you look at them for the last 28 days, we had 18, which was consistent with 2013. So on this tour, I hope everybody's going to be walking. And if they're driving, parking, and walking, then I hope that they are. We're pushing the clean car campaign, especially for that weekend, because that's something that we have a problem with here. And we've devoted a lot of man hours towards it, but it's kind of like being in the right place at the right time, because it's a crime of opportunity, and everybody's looking to capitalize on an opportunity. So, with that being said, we did have something that was really concerning, well, somewhat concerning, that occurred on St. Louis, where I want to say maybe a homeless person, so somebody came up to the resident at that location and asked could they do some yard work. The resident at the location, homeowner at the location, said they needed yard work done. Shortly thereafter, left the residence. I guess this homeless person may have seen them leave, and came back to the property, entered an unlocked door, and stole several electronics. We were able to arrest the perpetrator. However, it's very important. I know you guys get tired of hearing me talk about the clean car campaign and all these locking your doors and windows, but it's very important that we lock our doors and windows, and that we kind of close the window per se of this opportunity. I mean, because the criminals are out, they're preying on us, and we have to defend ourselves. Yes, ma'am.
So, at 1001 St. Charles Avenue, we have a vacant, not quite yet, foreclosure with the homeless population nesting in the yard, and the homeless population is multiplying. I went up there the other day, and there were probably twice as many nests as there have been. I go every couple of weeks, and it's worse and worse and worse. We really need that rest.
Lieutenant Floyd, if you're not familiar with this, I'd be glad to walk around with you. It's right around the corner. I mean, it's 100 yards away.
And also in between St. Charles and St. Augustine, there's definitely some homeless guys, because there's another house that got broken into on St. Augustine last week.
Can we show you these places? Sure.
But it's the alleys, I think that they're sleeping in the alleys from time to time.
Well, yeah, I mean, Maiden Lane, that's one of the areas where we try to have increased presence around the clock.
I really appreciate it.
And of course, they're spilling over into the neighborhood, like you say, foreclosed properties. I think a lot of the time, it's hard to actually find a victim to, when they're on private property, to actually prosecute, say the criminal trespass.
Yes, we're having a problem with non-response with police forces as well.
Okay.
But we'd really like to show you this.
Are we done with that?
We're effectively done. There was a couple things to
I can stand by until you close the meeting now.
Really
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on the clock.
We're about done.
The city clock, I'm on the all's clock.
Sir, we want you to sit by and not stand by.
Well, I was gonna go out and make a
Oh, if
phone
you got
call.
9, now you're gonna pull and do it by John.
I was gonna make a phone call, but I'll be standing
Well,
by.
we'll be holding, he got sued in this meeting, so we thought.
They'll be out very soon.
Okay.
All right, okay, well, we'll see
And I'll be
you
ready.
later. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So then you just had a parks committee up there, is that right? And Matthew?
Yeah, there's not, I mean, construction continues, the focus now is on the fencing, so I think we're getting close to getting that worked out, to get that outside of that.
If you want to know why, we worked out a lot earlier.
It's gorgeous.
So do I.
It looks really good. Love it. And all the people working there are very nice. Don't ask us.
Don't ask us why we worked out a lot earlier. I mean, we've only had 2 years to work on this, so.
Do you want to talk about anything on master plan or Monroe stuff you're putting up?
I think there's some leftover. Music Midtown, actually,
Next.
Music Midtown's what we're talking about. At the planning committee, we reported discouraging news about the Music Midtown effort because it looked pretty long. And indeed, there's been a renaissance of attitude and effort. And tomorrow morning, there's a meeting with Midtown, which is fired up.
Was the Music Midtown people?
No.
Midtown, the Lions?
No, Midtown Neighborhood Association.
No.
Should you back up? Do people know generally about this? This
So this is the study that we voted to authorize $7,000 for from this neighborhood association to try to support a study of what is structurally deficient with the city's approach to large events, including Music Midtown, using it as an example, but not as the sole example of all of them. And among the challenges, and there's several, is that the Public Works is excluded structurally from reviewing the traffic plan. I mean, they're only the group that's in charge of traffic for the city of Atlanta. Why would they be involved? That the police, that the officers who create the safety plan are hired, or at minimum, it's a little unclear now, the safety plan, the traffic plan is at minimum whether created in consultation and maybe solely by a group of police officers of the city of Atlanta who are paid separately by the event promoter to enforce it, which some cynics think may be related to the somewhat indifferent performance by some of the officers during the event, the not my problem kind of deal. I'm standing right here and I report to somebody else, not you guys. To the failure of lights to be coordinated, even because that would be traffic, we would be doing that. And to the absence of any kind of hour or fee-based charge for lane closures. The consultant, Joel Mann, who we knew from, this is Nelson Nygaard, Aaron hired him on our part of traffic issues, pointed out that in other cities, event promoters get charged by the hour, by the time of day, by the lane, for the number of closures they do. And it greatly incentivizes their trying to close streets as very little as possible, instead of, we've given a lot of money and the streets are ours. But all of this is, and this is being supported by the Mayor's Office of Special Events, because there's an exceptional woman, Ebony Barley, there, who has really been terrific and has really stuck her neck out and said this stuff needs to change. And it's put her in direct contact with not Lieutenant Ford's superior, but his equivalent in zone he's in. So it's really, she's a rarity and we need to take advantage of her. We really appreciate her. So we're going to try to do this. It costs $24,000. We have 7, which is probably more than any other single group, but we're hoping council members will come through with 75 to 8. Alex is doing it. We have support from at least 3 others. We're hoping to get our other 2 at-large folks to come through. Midtown's agreed to go 1,500. Ansley will be there tomorrow, and they have a board meeting tomorrow night, and they can afford to do this. So we're optimistic that we'll get some good analysis out of this. This is not about going after Music Midtown. It is not. This is about trying to look at how large events in the park have impacts on the neighborhoods, and how you can try to analyze those impacts and make them, minimize them, plan for them in a better way, and make things work in a more efficient way, and measure them so that it's not just uniform. We don't turn over public facilities to anyone for any reason. I'm sorry, John.
No, I was just going to say, the meeting tomorrow is to kick this process off?
No, it's way kicked off. The meeting tomorrow is to just coordinate some details about how this will go forward, and make sure the 3 neighborhood associations, and we'll invite Morningside to are on the same page, and I think they are, and I'm really optimistic. So that it's got a shot at happening, and I will tell you that without specific authority. Joel did ask that in order to pull this off, he's got to spend basically our chunk of money right away on hiring people to do the traffic counts. And he's doing even more sophisticated ones than they did, that Aaron did for us before, where they threw the rubber strip across